beneath the endless skies of New Mexico, where the desert wind whispers through ancient ruins and the moon casts silver light on forgotten trails, shadows stir that do not belong to the living. This is a land carved by history, drenched in legend, and haunted by echoes that refuse to fade. The silence here feels heavy, as if the earth itself remembers every tragedy, every ghost story whispered around dying campfires. Tonight, we walk together into the dark heart of the Southwest, uncovering the haunted places of New Mexico where the past is never truly gone, and where you may not be walking alone. 1. The Taos Inn, Taos. In the heart of Taos, where the Sangre de Cristo Mountains rise against the desert sky, stands the historic Taos Inn, known for its cozy charm, flickering fireplaces, and glowing neon sign. The inn is a beloved destination, but behind its adobe walls, the inn holds secrets that are far from welcoming. The building dates back to the early 1800s and was once the home of Dr. Thomas Doc Martin, a respected physician who treated the town's residents. After his death, the property transformed into an inn, but many say Doc Martin never truly left. Guests report seeing his apparition in the restaurant that bears his name, his spectral form moving quietly among the tables as though still checking on patients. But he isn't the only spirit here. A woman in flowing black is said to roam the hallways late at night. Some describe hearing her heels clicking against the floor, only for the sound to stop suddenly when they turn the corner. In certain rooms, the air grows icy and shadows seem to pool unnaturally in the corners. One particularly disturbing account comes from a guest who awoke to see a figure standing at the foot of their bed, tall, silent, and unmoving. When they turned on the light, the figure was gone, but the scent of old tobacco smoke lingered in the room. Would you dare to spend the night here, listening for the whispers of unseen voices drifting through the courtyard? The Taos Inn may welcome visitors with warmth and light, but some of its residents have checked in forever. 2. The old Bernalillo Courthouse. Bernalillo. Courthouses are meant to stand for law and order, but the old Bernalillo Courthouse hides something far more unsettling. Built in the early 20th century, it witnessed trials, imprisonments, and countless lives weighed down by judgment. And according to locals, some of those condemned souls never left its walls. Visitors and former employees have spoken of footsteps echoing through empty corridors, doors slamming without warning, and an oppressive heaviness that settles on anyone who dares to linger. Some have seen shadowy figures drifting near the cells below, their outlines flickering like candlelight. One of the most chilling legends involves a prisoner who died while awaiting trial. People claim to hear his tortured cries echoing through the basement, along with the rattling of unseen chains. In the courtrooms above, whispers are sometimes heard, as though invisible juries are still deliberating cases that ended decades ago. The courthouse now stands as a reminder of history, but its atmosphere is anything but lifeless. Those who step inside describe it as walking into a trap, the walls closing in, the air pressing down, and a feeling that you are being judged by something you cannot see. Would you enter the darkened basement, knowing that every step might be followed by the dragging of spectral feet? In Bernalillo's old courthouse, the verdict is always the same: guilty of trespassing into the realm of the dead. 3. The KiMo Theatre. Albuquerque. At first glance, the KiMo Theatre looks like a dream of the Southwest, a 1927 Pueblo Deco masterpiece with vibrant murals and turquoise flourishes. But beneath its cultural beauty lies one of Albuquerque's most unsettling hauntings. The story begins with a tragedy in 1951. A young boy named Bobby was killed when a boiler exploded in the theater. His death was sudden, violent, and unfair, and many believe Bobby never left. Ever since, actors and staff have reported strange occurrences tied to the mischievous spirit of the child. Legend says that if performers don't leave a small offering for Bobby, usually donuts or candy, disaster strikes their shows. Lights malfunction, props collapse, or sound equipment fails at crucial moments. Some dismiss it as superstition, but even hardened skeptics admit the string of coincidences is too long, too specific. Those who have seen Bobby describe a small figure darting along the balcony or peeking from behind curtains, always just out of reach. In the empty theater, the sound of childish giggles has been heard, echoing faintly across the grand hall. Imagine standing on stage alone, staring out at hundreds of empty seats, when suddenly you hear the creak of a chair folding down in the darkness. Would you keep performing, knowing that your only audience might be a restless child who refuses to be forgotten? At the KiMo Theatre, the show always goes on, but not always for the living. Sure, Fort Union, Mora County. Stretching across the windswept plains of Mora County are the ruins of Fort Union, once a bustling military post that guarded the Santa Fe Trail. Today, only crumbling adobe walls and lonely chimneys remain, but the echoes of soldiers, settlers, and prisoners still cling to the land like desert dust. By day, Fort Union feels like a historic relic. By night, it becomes something far darker. Visitors have reported shadowy figures patrolling the grounds, as if ghostly soldiers still march their rounds long after their deaths. The sound of boots crunching on gravel is often heard, though no one is in sight. Some even claim to hear shouted commands carried on the wind, voices barking orders in a language long gone. Park rangers and curious travelers alike tell of sudden drops in temperature, the smell of gunpowder on the air, and the unshakable feeling of being watched. One particularly chilling story describes a visitor who saw a soldier standing guard near the ruins of the barracks. When they approached, the man vanished into the darkness, leaving only the sound of rattling chains. Would you dare to walk alone through the broken remnants of Fort Union at midnight? The walls may be crumbling, but the garrison is far from empty. The past here refuses to lie silent. It walks, it watches, and it waits. Sun, the Luna Mansion, Los Lunas. Rising out of Los Lunas like a vision of the past, the Luna Mansion is a grand Southern-style home with white columns, wraparound porches, and an air of elegance. Built in the 1880s by the influential Luna family, the mansion has been many things over the years: a private residence, a restaurant, and according to many, one of the most haunted houses in New Mexico. The most common apparition is believed to be Josefita Otero Luna, the matriarch of the family. Guests and staff alike describe a woman in period clothing, gliding down the grand staircase, her face serene, her presence commanding. Sometimes, her perfume lingers in the air long after the vision vanishes. But Josefita isn't alone. Employees have reported the mischievous spirit of a young boy who plays tricks in the dining rooms, tugging on aprons, knocking glasses off tables, or darting through the halls with ghostly laughter. In darker corners, shadows gather, and some diners have felt a cold hand rest briefly on their shoulders. One particularly chilling story tells of a mirror in the house that sometimes reflects more than it should. Guests have claimed to see extra figures standing behind them, figures that vanish when they turn around. Despite its beauty, the Luna Mansion carries a weight of memory. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of candlelight feels like a reminder that its former residents are still watching. Would you dare to dine here, knowing that unseen company might join you at the table? So it's old Mesilla Plaza, Mesilla. Mesilla is a town where history clings to every adobe wall and dusty street. Once a hub of frontier life, its central plaza has witnessed celebrations, executions, and bloodshed. And as the stories go, those echoes have never left. The most famous figure tied to Mesilla Plaza is Billy the Kid. After his capture in 1881, he stood trial here, condemned to hang. Though he later escaped, the shadow of his presence remains. Visitors claim to see a ghostly figure in a cowboy hat drifting near the courthouse, his boots silent on the cobblestones. But Billy is not the only spirit said to linger. The plaza was also the site of numerous hangings, and some locals swear that on still nights, the sound of ropes creaking can be heard swaying from invisible gallows. Others describe cold spots forming near the old courthouse, as though unseen eyes are watching, waiting. Shops and restaurants that line the square today are not immune. Owners tell of flickering lights, whispers in Spanish and English, and objects that move when no one is near. One chilling account describes the sudden sound of a crowd, laughter, footsteps, voices only for the plaza to fall silent again, leaving the witness trembling in the empty night. Standing in Mesilla Plaza after dark, the charm of the old town fades, replaced by a sense that history is not at rest. Would you dare to stand where outlaws once met their end, listening for the echoes of their final moments? The plaza itself seems alive, haunted not by one spirit, but by the weight of countless stories carved into its stones. 7. St. James Hotel, Cimarron. The old frontier town of Cimarron still wears its Wild West scars, and nowhere is this more apparent than the St. James Hotel. Built in 1872, it quickly became a refuge for outlaws, gunslingers, and drifters making their way across New Mexico's rugged trails. But the St. James wasn't just a place to rest. It was a place where tempers flared, cards were cheated, and bullets flew. The hotel's ceilings still bear the scars of its violent past, with bullet holes visible in the wood. By some counts, over 24 men died here in shootouts, their blood soaking into the floorboards. With such a history, it's no wonder that the St. James is considered one of the most haunted locations in the Southwest. Guests who stay here often wake to phantom footsteps pacing outside their doors. Some have seen apparitions of cowboys in dust-covered hats, staring silently before fading back into shadow. The most infamous spirit is said to be Thomas James Wright, a man shot after winning a high-stakes poker game. He staggered to room 18 where he died, clutching his winnings. Even today, room 18 is locked and never rented, sealed as if to contain his restless ghost. Others whisper of a spectral woman in white gliding down the hallways, her expression mournful, her figure dissolving like smoke. The staff report doors that slam shut without cause, glasses that shatter behind the bar, and an atmosphere that feels charged, like the air just before a gunfight. Would you dare to spend the night in a hotel where every wall remembers violence, and every creak might be the ghost of an outlaw who never checked out the St. James is more than a hotel. It's a graveyard, disguised as an inn. 8. The Double Eagle Restaurant, Mesilla. In the historic town of Mesilla, where adobe buildings glow gold beneath the desert sun, lies a fine dining establishment with a deadly past. The Double Eagle Restaurant is known for its opulent chandeliers, aged mirrors, and white linen service. But its most famous guests aren't seated at the tables, they haunt the walls. Long before the building became a restaurant, it was the site of a wealthy family's home. In the 1800s, a young boy named Armando fell in love with one of the family's servants, a girl named Inez. Their affair was forbidden, but love often ignores warnings. When Armando's mother discovered the two together, rage consumed her. In a fit of violence, she murdered Inez, stabbing her in what is now known as the Carlotta Room. Armando, trying to protect her, was also killed. The Carlotta Room remains untouched, preserved with antique furnishings and a chilling stillness. Guests who enter often feel a sudden drop in temperature or hear soft whispers in Spanish lingering near their ears. Some report seeing a shadow of a young couple holding hands, only for the vision to vanish when approached. Staff members dread closing late at night. They've seen chairs pulled out on their own, glasses shattering without cause, and curtains swaying, though no breeze is present. Many refuse to be alone in the Carlotta Room, fearing that the violent echoes of that forbidden love will play out once more. Dining at the Double Eagle may offer fine wine and candlelit romance. But listen closely, and you may hear the sound of two doomed lovers whispering from beyond. 9. Dawson Cemetery, Colfax County. Drive into the lonely hills of Colfax County, and you'll find rows of white iron crosses glimmering in the moonlight. This is Dawson Cemetery, one of the most haunted burial grounds in the Southwest. Once a booming coal mining town, Dawson thrived with thousands of residents until disaster struck twice. In 1913 and again in 1923, explosions ripped through the mines, killing nearly 400 men. The town never recovered. Today, only the cemetery remains, a chilling monument to tragedy. Locals swear the dead never left. On quiet nights, strange lights bob between the graves, resembling the lanterns miners once carried deep underground. Some visitors claim to hear the echo of picks striking stone, the clatter of coal carts, and even muffled cries drifting across the desert wind. Others have reported the ghostly figures of soot-stained men rising from the earth, their hollow eyes fixed on the living. The silence of the cemetery is unsettling. No birds, no insects, only the sighing of the wind across the crosses. Step too close, and some say you'll feel an icy hand brush against your arm, or hear footsteps crunching on gravel behind you, though no one is there. Would you linger in the center of Dawson Cemetery after midnight, surrounded by hundreds of restless souls? Or would you feel compelled to leave, chased out by the weight of unseen eyes? Here, the ground is more than a resting place. It's a wound, still open, still bleeding into the night. 10. La Posada Hotel, Santa Fe. Picture yourself in a grand old inn, the firelight flickering across Spanish tiles, the air perfumed with aged wood and desert air. But at La Posada Hotel, the warmth hides something colder. Built in 1930, this luxury hotel sits upon the foundations of an older mansion, and with its walls came whispers of tragedy. Guests often report encounters with a spectral woman known as Julia Staub. Julia's story is steeped in sorrow. She was the wife of a wealthy merchant who built her a mansion on this very ground in the 19th century. But behind the facade of wealth, Julia was said to be deeply unhappy, confined within the gilded walls of her home. Some believe she wasted away from heartbreak, while others claim madness consumed her. Whatever the truth, her restless spirit has become La Posada's most famous guest. Visitors say they see her wandering the grand staircase in a flowing gown, her figure luminous, her eyes dark with grief. Sometimes, the scent of roses fills the air when no flowers are present, as if Julia herself brushes past unseen. Staff members tell of lights flickering, objects moving, and the unmistakable sound of sobbing in empty hallways. Standing in the lobby at night, you might feel the atmosphere tighten, as though someone is watching from the shadows above. Would you dare to ride the old elevator alone, knowing Julia might be waiting on the other side when the doors creak open? La Posada remains elegant, a jewel of Santa Fe. But beneath its charm, a tragic echo walks the halls, a bride of sorrow forever bound to her home. From forgotten graveyards and frontier hotels to theaters and grand mansions, New Mexico's haunted places are more than just echoes of history. They are living shadows, pressing against the thin veil between past and present. Each site tells a story of sorrow, violence, or love that refused to die, lingering in the desert air like a warning to those who dare to listen. The next time you find yourself on a lonely desert road, or walking through the adobe streets of a centuries-old town, remember, here in New Mexico, the past is never silent. It waits in the shadows, it whispers in the wind, and sometimes it walks beside you. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this chilling journey, don't forget to like, comment with your favorite haunted location, and subscribe for more weekly videos from the shadows.